do not forgive somebody who has hurt you, then it means you are telling God that deal with me as I've also dealt with that person.
Wow. If I train my child such that he comes out of school and he cannot do an alternative job, then I think as a parent, I am failing.
The midnight that you cannot sleep and thinking about this child, tell yourself, Lord, I hand over this my wayward child unto you.
It is not about the job the person is doing in terms of what we think. But at the end of the day, is it the will of God?
I think that it's very unhealthy for couples to be talking about breaking up and threatening them. It doesn't really solve. If the person is unrepentant, that cannot change it. Start with prayer.
One of the sickness that I pray to God everybody will get one in his life before they die and become a ghost is toothache. One of I don't know if you had toothache before.
I've had it before. You can't sleep.
The anointing doesn't solve it.
Watch Weekend Family Review with Dollarich every Saturday at 8:30 a.m. and a repeat at 7 p.m. Weekend Family Review, bringing the families together and reshaping society for tomorrow's generations.
Hello precious viewers, wow, welcome to yet another beautiful weekend with us here on GTV Live. As I always say, this is the Weekend Family Review Show with me, Johnny called Dollarich. I'm so blessed because I can see the hand of God working in our families, because here we say we are bringing the families together and reshaping society for tomorrow's generations. It is all about you and the family harmony. Please call somebody also to call somebody to tune in to watch this program, because today we are bringing you a topic you cannot do away with. We'll take this quick break shortly, but when we come, my guest will be on set with me, even as we delve into our topic. But please, we still have our WhatsApp line up screen and our Facebook page, Weekend Review with Dollarich. Just get connected with us. Let's do the show together. Remember, it's all about you and the family harmony. We'll be right back.
When you do not forgive somebody who has hurt you, then it means you are telling God that deal with me as I've also dealt with that person.
Wow. If I train my child such that he comes out of school and he cannot do an alternative job, then I think as a parent, I am failing.
Intercede in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, the midnight that you cannot sleep and thinking about this child. Tell yourself, Lord, I hand over this my wayward child unto you.
It is not about the job the person is doing in terms of what we think. But at the end of the day, is it the will of God? Is that what am I looking at pleasing God or looking at pleasing the people around us?
Once you get into marriage, unless it's a very threatening situation where life and death, is on the line, I think that it's very unhealthy for couples to be talking about breaking up and threatening them. It doesn't really solve. If the person is unrepentant, that cannot change it. Start with prayer.
Watch Weekend Family Review with Dollarich every Saturday at 8:30 a.m. and a repeat at 7 p.m. Weekend Family Review, bringing the families together and reshaping society for tomorrow's generations.
You're welcome back, and thank you so much for staying on, and the program still continues, and it is the Weekend Family Review Show right here on GTV Live. And here our command still stands as bringing the families together and reshaping society for tomorrow's generations, for you and the family to live in harmony. That is our prayer. This is our heartbeat, and we say, please, no matter what is happening out there, don't pick up arms to break the family. Rather, go on your knees and get the family together, because God can do everything. If only we can get to him in prayer, it is well with us. Today we are coming to discuss something very interesting, and but let me go to my guests who are on set with me. And this is the second time they've been here. The first time they came, they were such a blessing to us. I mean, the calls and the views that came in was something else. But I'll go to them today too, for them to tell us who they are, let me do it right by going to my immediate left with this beautiful woman, and she will tell us who she is and where she's coming from. Reverend, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, talk to us.
My name is Reverend Mrs. Gloria Kafui Lamte from Believers House of Worship International Nungwa Brigade.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're looking awesome.
Thank you.
Wow. How is the family? How is everybody?
We are doing well. We are blessed. Thank God.
I can see. And to my far left is this bishop. I mean, a man you cannot resist. And he will also tell us who he is and where he's coming from. Bishop, you're welcome.
Thank you. My name is Reverend Jonathan Mate. I'm with Christ Assembly International Christian Center in Teshin.
Wow. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you.
And how is the family?
The family is doing well.
I can
We're
see.
moving on.
We can see.
Yes.
And thank you so much for coming today too. Because the last time when you were here, you were such a blessing. And our viewers were all appreciative of what you contributed on the program. We are grateful. Thank you. And viewers, today we want to look at the topic, the for better, for worse. Is it just a cliche or is a reality? Now, call somebody also to call somebody to tune in to watch this program today, because what we are coming to discuss today is very crucial. We are discussing the for better, for worse. I mean, is it just a cliche or is it something that is very real in life? And then we'll delve into whether divorce is biblically supported, and that aspect of the worst. For to which extent or how much can one endure? This is quite deep, and today we are going to talk about certain things that really happen in your marriage and in your family. And let's see, God will be our help. I know that one. Reverend Martin, you're welcome.
Thank
and
you.
Mrs. Gloria Lamte, you're welcome once again.
you.
And let me take it from you. Therefore, better for worse. You know, to every woman, when you go on the altar, it's so beautiful. And we see all these sweet words and all that. But that aspect of it, for better, for worse, that is what we're coming to look at. Is it something that is a reality, or just a cliche that we just go and say it and we come home?
Interesting. It's supposed to be for real.
That's right.
But the pageantry that comes with it makes us forget the actual vows we are taking. We forget. We plan towards the wedding, we don't plan towards the marriage. And so it comes like a formality. Somebody said, the Osofo said it and I said it behind me. I didn't really mean it. But it's supposed to be something, because when you go on the altar, you're going to make vows. And Bible says it's better not to vow at all, but to vow and not honor it. So it's supposed to be something sacred. But for what do we see now? It's become like a cliche. It happens every time. We take the words for granted. But we must really see that we are going before an altar of God. One, the God is there, your family members are there, your pastors are there. So it's supposed to be a vow you must stick with for the rest of your life. Not something to just say and say, oh, I didn't really mean it. For better, I'm there, but for worse, I think I have to
think about it
again.
Well, viewers, the program still continues, and if you are watching us for the first time, this is Weekend Family Review Show. The program is every Saturday at 8:30 a.m. and the repeat is at 7 p.m. Normally, we do have first-time viewers, so take note of it. 8:30 a.m. every Saturday and 7 p.m. the same Saturday. So just note it somewhere. Let's go to Reverend Martin.
Yeah, thank you. Indeed, as my sister said, they are not mere words. They are words that have listeners in heaven and listeners on earth. And it's a covenant vow. And covenant is a serious business. She mentioned you stand before the altar. The altar is a place of sacrifice.
Wow.
So when you are saying those words, you are committing your life to a long journey. Jesus did not just invite people to follow him. He says you should take up your cross and follow. So there are challenges. And real men and real women are those who take challenges as they come. Otherwise, the world will not have reached where it is. In other fields of endeavor, not only marriage, if people had run away from endeavors, I don't think we would have had mobile phones, would have had cars, would have had some of the luxuries of life. Somebody was willing to stay on despite the pain. to get something out. And I believe marriage offers one of the greatest opportunities for character to be built.
Wow.
And character is built not on silver platter, sometimes through the crucible and furnace of fire. But you will come out strong and better.
Wow.
This is what I can
this
say.
This is deep. And Leslie, let's look at this. Talking about the fact that you go on the altar and it's a vow you take. Let's look at it. You made mention of the fact that people prepare towards the marriage.
Towards the
wedding, but not the marriage. Then the marriage itself is the process, is that journey that you are going to take. How do we get people to understand that whatever you are going to say on that altar binds you for life?
I believe that when you go through counseling, your counselors must take you through that. But what do we see now? Now we say that once we are in love, we don't need counseling. But the more reason why when you love something, that's the more reason why you must work at it.
That's right.
You need to go through counseling. You whatever you are doing now. If you're a journalist, you went through school.
That's right.
If you're a medical doctor, you go through school. But at age 60, you come on pension. You go on pension. But if you're living for 100 or 90 years, in marriage, you don't go on holidays, you don't go on pension. But preparing towards that, we don't want to learn or study the process. We see different marriages. Somebody say, my mother and my father have been married, but no two marriages are the same.
That's right.
So you need to, your counselors need to teach, pastors, we need to teach our congregants that it is a serious business, saying vows and then going into the marriage. Marriage is not for boys and girls.
Wow.
Marriage is for matured people. When you read the account of Genesis chapter 2, God put Adam in Eden.
That's right.
I was listening to Mount Moro and he said, Eden is a presence. It's an atmosphere. It's not a place. That's why geologists cannot find where Garden of Eden. It's a presence. So as a man, you need to be in the presence of God. You need to work. You need to have work to be working. So he put him in Eden and said, till the land, cultivate it, work at it, protect it. If a man has all these things, then the man is ready for marriage. That is why God said it is not good for a man to be alone. After all that, after the protection, after the cultivating and all that, he said it is not good. So if a man is ready for marriage, all these things must be done, and he must rather, as the head, lead the woman. Let's go through this counseling. Let's get it. Let's get the real rudiments for it, rather than because we are in love. Love is not enough for marriage, because somewhere along the marriage we'll get there, but somewhere along the marriage will dwindle. The love will dwindle in the marriage. It will take other things to sustain the marriage.
Somebody told me that what we call love, like we nowadays, boys and girls, we say love, love, love. And that love, when it is tested, then your quality of being a man or a woman will be proven.
That's right.
Now, Dr. Martin, let's look at it. I mean, just on the same line, I mean, you go on the altar, you are taking the vow. Being a man or a woman, like being there, sometimes you can be a boy. We say boys and girls don't marry, but when you get to that point that you are taking the vow, you are saying for better, for worse, saying all the other things that come with it. What should be your idea? What should be that mindset that have to take you on that altar? Is it a matter of you are just going to do it and just walk away, or you think you are starting a foundation that is going to lead you somewhere?
Saying vows, like I said, is your whole life that you are surrendering.
That's right.
Because your words represent you. That's why God holds us responsible by what we say. So as Gloria said, counsel is important, teaching is important. And Jesus himself recognized the need to sit and plan before you go ahead. So whoever wants to build a house must first sit down. And so we need to spend more time preparing people into the vow taking. That the vow is just the first step of many vows that he will have to take for the rest of his life, because vows are renewable.
Wow.
And some marriages wither because there is no opportunity to renew the vows. Few men will keep telling their wife, I love you. They said it once, and sometimes it takes a woman to prompt a man. I want to hear it again. All right? So when you are saying a vow, it's even have generational consequences. The vow that you are taking on not only on your own behalf, on behalf of the children.
Wow.
Because children are defined by where parents are.
Wow.
You don't choose where you want to be. And the vows I take will affect my children. That is why counseling, like you said, is very important. So that you ask yourself, in 30 years' time, in 40 years' time, if I'm still alive, will I still be honoring what I've said?
Wow.
It is not a short distance race. It's a marathon. It's a marathon of several laps. And those vows must be sustained in each of the laps till you cross the finishing line.
This is serious.
Yes.
It's not for boys and girls.
No.
Not at all. And the program still continues, and it is the weekend family review show here on GTV Live. And our core mandate has not changed. We are still bringing the families together and reshaping society for tomorrow's generations. Yes, we do believe in you. We do believe in your family. We do believe that the family can have a harmonious way of life. You can't destroy that family. We want to delve into whether divorce is biblically supported, and that aspect of the West. I mean, for better, for worse, that West, how much can you endure when the West situation or the West scenario come in? Now, let's look at it. Divorce. We've heard it from so many quarters. I mean, sometimes some people say that when it becomes deadly, like your husband or your wife is really taking you to that point where you are going to lose your life, everybody has it. But let's look at it. What do you think? Should we actually look at it from either angles, whether to support it or not to support it? What about divorce?
This is a very dicey
I know.
question. Jesus says he hates divorce.
That's right.
God hates divorce.
That's
and
right.
then others will say, oh, God hates divorce, but he loves the divorcee.
That's right.
Because he loves the person. For me, divorce is not an option for me. Number one, as a counselor. Number two, as a married woman.
That's right.
Divorce, I tell people I went into my marriage with a one-way ticket. The options
There's
are
no
not, there's no returning
tickets. Yeah, that's right.
We say the vows and we say until death do us part.
That's right.
And then if the person changes along the line, we want divorce. The only counsel I can give my counseling when the man is an abusive man and he's been hitting you over and over and over again, I will not say to you seek divorce.
That's right.
I will give you an option to separate. Separate and pray for the person. I'm talking as a pastor, I'm talking as a Christian. Because the Bible says the heart of a king is in God's hand.
That's right.
As he turned the waters, so does he turn the heart of a king. And prayer can change a person. Because the grass is not greener anywhere. If you see a grass green at the other end, somebody is watering it.
That's right.
Somebody is working at it. If it's not, there's nobody working at it, then it's artificial. There's no, how would I put, there's no sweet marriage anywhere. Every marriage has its challenges. Divorce can never be an option.
Wow.
It cannot be an option. If the person is abusive, hitting you, and you can separate for a while, pray for the person. I know some people who separated for 2 years, and with much prayer, they've come together, renew their vows, like Dr. Mate is saying, renew their vows. Today they are together and the marriage is working. You can have a time of separation, time of thinking through it. The person missing you,
of
reflection.
That's right.
The person missing you. Do I still want this? Do I want to go? You don't know how valuable a thing is until you lose it.
That's
So
right.
if the person is not with you for some time, you know this person is my life. I want the person back. But nowadays, if the person is not fulfilling the obligation like he used to be, the only thing we want is divorce. We always want to run away from our problems rather than staying and facing. Dr. Martin said something in the beginning that it's a cross you carry. it's a lifetime thing. You vow to God that for better, for worse. What do we mean by the worse? What were you thinking? Were you thinking that when you go to be lovey-dovey all the time? No. There will be pain. There will be things that will crush you. By all in all, it matures you to the next level. Then you can also give advice to somebody else. But you don't run away from every battle. If you live and you fight and run, you live to fight another day. Because you enter into another marriage, you don't know if what you are going through will still be in the other marriage. So for me, this is my personal opinion. That this is what I teach. That you can't run away from it.
You can't run away.
I tell people, if see the person as your brother. If your brother hurt you, would you say, from today you are no more my brother? I'm cutting ties with you. It's blood. It's tied you forever. He says something. It's a covenant. Marriage. It's a covenant. And covenant, you can't break it. Like, it's not a contract. There's a difference between a contract and a covenant. At the altar, you make a covenant, and every covenant is sealed with blood.
And it's not meant to be broken.
It's not meant to be broken. And what seals a marital covenant is consummating the marriage at the wedding night. So that is the reason why if you don't consummate a marriage, you can divorce, because that marriage is not a covenant. It's not become a covenant yet. So on that basis, you are so knitted together, living and cleaving. I make this example. I when you put two papers together, the original word is gluing together. So if you put two papers together and cleave them with glue, and you now decide, you don't want it that way, you want to separate it, what happens?
Definitely there'll be some tests
into you know.
Right.
And so if you're divorced, you can never you have soul ties. That is for another day, but you still have something in you in this, something, you know. So for me, divorce is not an option.
Reverend Matty.
Yes, it's a tough question.
It is.
But God has answers. When the Pharisees asked Jesus the same question, he said, have you not read? So he made reference to what was written. So the question I asked, what have we been reading these days? Especially this day of information age. Anybody can put anything on the web. But there are some sources that are authentic. And the word of God is an authentic source. So what has God said? It may be uncomfortable with us. When, like she said, I'm being beaten, I'm hurting, and I'm asked to stay on. But God said he hates divorce. Jesus said, let no one put asunder. So that's the principle. Now when problems come, how do we solve it? I think most of the difficulties has been the way we approach the challenges that emerge. Patience can play a key role. A week of patience, 2 years of patience can change a lifetime of trouble. And you've seen people who couldn't wait that long and walked out, and today they will tell you they wish they had walked. So the options are there, but God has made it clear that stay together and work at it. God never said you will not have problems. In fact, Paul in 1 Corinthians 7, the whole chapter is about marriage. He sometimes said he wished those who are not married will stay unmarried, because people who get married will face problems. He said it. So when the problems arise, how do we handle it? She mentioned separation, moving away, when a person's life is threatened. God did that for Jesus. When Herod was threatening Jesus, God asked the parents to take him away for a while. When the situation became better, they came back.
That's right.
So there are instances where situations will get better, where the other party will sit down and go through, or where families can go in. Sometimes we say, no, I don't want to get involved. Of course, we are not mandated to get involved in people's marriage. But there are situations where we must get involved. Doctors get involved when we are sick.
That's right.
And they come in to turn things around. So marriage can be turned around when people who are not have their own prejudices but can go with a clear mind and resolve the matter. Every marital problem can be solved. I believe it, because God will not create marriage and not make provision for support. I mean, engineers will not make a car without how to fix it when there's something wrong.
Wow.
So why will God engineer marriage and not make provision for it to be fixed when it goes wrong? When we set God aside and try to do it our own, then we run into problems. There's a beautiful woman in the Bible called Abigail. Her household was threatened because of the way the husband behaved.
That's right.
But look at the way Abigail did. She turned the situation around.
That's right.
The man was rich, but he was a fool. And he behaved as a fool.
That's right.
You know? And when Abigail heard what has happened, he didn't go to fight the man, but he saw the wisdom of God and went to the root of the problem. And he was able to turn the anger of David. And she saved herself and saved the husband.
That's right.
She's an example of how we can handle problems depending on how we approach it. And I believe we must encourage dialogue and solution to problems than taking a unilateral stand.
Wow.
You know. And like I said, after a while people realize I should have been patient. I believe that even there are counseling sessions, we must go deeper than we are going. You know, conflict resolution, crisis management.
That's right.
Organizations have a whole course on crisis management. Some have policy on crisis management. Why can't we have that approach towards marriage, which is the result of all of us being here? Without marriage, you will not have been born.
Right.
Do we prepare to manage crisis when it comes? When temporary things like companies have crisis management, we don't do it because we prepare towards buying the ring, getting a car that will drive us, and all the paraphernalia and the paparazzi for that day.
I want the diamond or the gold or the silver rings and all the platinum.
So we need to understand that any endeavor in life comes with challenges, and challenges must be managed based on the word of God. So the Bible talks about forgiveness, you know, because it is an essential ingredient in marriage. As long as even children from the same womb misunderstand one another with time, let alone two different people coming from two different families, different cultures and upbringing style, when they come together, it takes a period, you know, to smoothen the rough edges. We need to understand that communication is also critical.
Wow.
You can have the best ideas towards your wife. If you don't communicate it appropriately, can create problem. Are we really preparing ourselves for this? Of course, we can learn all the things before we go into marriage. But when we are in marriage, it is when we learn more. So, how did I see my mom forgive my dad? Some of the problem is that our homes are not providing a good example for us.
This is serious.
So if I saw my dad yelling at my mom, you know, I think that is the standard for marriage. But no, that's not the standard. I believe, like the manual for vehicles, this book of the law, God told Joshua should not depart. I don't think we make enough reference to this book as we ought. Like if we have been making reference to it, the Spirit of God, who is the author of this, will reveal things to us and will be able to manage and solve the crisis that's come. Because the crisis come. Abraham had crisis. Abraham, the father of all nations, he had crisis. All right, God intervened. Issue of Hagar and Ishmael, which still happens today, where in some marriages that all been handled well.
That's right.
And it's brought about problem. Do we listen when crises come as believers? What God is saying in the matter I just referred to, God told Abraham, listen to what your wife is saying.
That's right. That's right.
All right. So people say God is a silent listener to this house. God is not a silent listener. He speaks.
He speaks.
And when he speaks, do we hear?
That's right.
Or we toe the line that our sentiments tell us. Moses had crisis when he failed to observe some rules in the house, was leaving home on mission. It took Zipporah to come in. So every problem in marriage, God has an answer. And I will encourage, we go to him.
You will encourage.
In prayer.
We'll go to
God. Otherwise, then God hasn't provided enough to support marriage crisis, but he has provided.
He has.
We go to him.
The program still continues, and it is the Weekend Family Review Show right here on GTV Live. I'm so humbled. Mama, Gloria said something that divorce is not an option. You can't just say you are using divorce to solve that problem. It won't solve it.
It won't.
Let's look at this. What is actually going on? I don't know. I spoke with one lady. I had the opportunity of talking to her concerning her problem, and when I sat with her for within 3 minutes after talking, when I started talking, she looked at me quietly and she started crying, and I was like, "Are you okay?" She said, "No." If she had heard what I was telling her some few months back or some few years back, she would have made the same mistakes that she did to be separated now. Now she's divorced. But according to her, she wants to go back to her husband. She's remarried, but she's finding, worse scenario. Worse times in the marriage in which she is. But when I told her that, within 3 minutes, she was like, no, she had made a mistake. If she knew what she knows now, she would have made the same mistake. Is it a matter of we rush when it has to do with this divorce thing? The slightest thing that happened, we want to use divorce as an option just to separate, or to get solution to the problem that we have. Is it that we rush?
Of course, we rush. We sometimes think that, like I said from the beginning, that I love the person, and it's going to be like that. When we are courting, we all put up a charade. We all put up faces. We all pretend. I told somebody, you can court with a man for 5 years and not really know him. There's a difference between courting and marrying itself. So when we are courting, we think what we see is a real person. Until you marry the person, wake up with the person, go to bed with the person, then you know how the person snores, how the person's face is like when he or she wakes up in the morning. But when we are courting, we don't really do that. And then we think we are in love. So we don't listen to anything. I can bet you what the lady is talking about, she heard it. She heard what she's heard it before, but she thought she was in love. When we are in love, we seal all our senses.
That's right.
We don't listen. What we feel at that moment is what we run with. But you go through counseling, you are told certain things. You know that when you enter into a marriage, my parents are typical example for me. My mom and dad have been married for 45 years. So I told myself, getting into marriage, I'm not going to be a disappointment to them. I'm their first daughter. I am also going to outdo them.
That's right. That's right.
So we have faced challenges, but because it's a mind thing, when you enter into a marriage with a mindset, okay, I've worn this dress for so long, I'm discarding it for another one. Marriage is not like that. Marriage is not like that. You must make up your mind and say, I am entering and I'm not coming out.
That's right. It's a one-way journey.
One-way journey. I said one-way ticket into your marriage.
That's right.
You can never come out. Like Daddy said, 1 Corinthians 7, he said, you cannot, a husband and wife cannot live asunder. You cannot live apart from your husband. If you are married and you divorce your wife, stay unmarried. And can you stay unmarried? So you have to work at it. That is the condition given to us in our manual. That is the Bible. So for us, it's you must think about your temperaments when you get into marriage. Know your husband's temperament. Know your wife's temperament. We don't study that. When you know my weakness and my strength as my husband, you encourage me on my weakness. Support me in my weakness and push me up where my strengths are. But you don't know my temperament. You think that it's something I just do out of. But temperament is an inborn trait. You can see a child, a baby born today, put the child before a TV, the eyes goes to the TV. A very independent child. That person may be a choleric or a melancholy. But there is a sanguine child who wants to be carried all the time.
That's it.
You enter the room, the child hears your voice and wants to be carried. That is a sanguine child. So know your partner. Who was the strength? What's the weakness? Then you can build the marriage on that. So if the person offends you, won't dwell on that offense and leave him. The only, like I said from the beginning, the only thing that will make me as a counselor to ask a spouse to separate is abuse. Not even verbal abuse, but physical abuse.
Where life is being
threatened. The person takes a knife or a gun and puts on you. That one, your life is at risk. You must run for your life. Separate for a while. And if the person is remorseful and comes back, give the person a start. Hosea and Gomer. He said, go and marry a prostitute. He said, me, prostitute. Go and see how it feels like. Because you, the Israelite, you go a hurry. You go after other gods. See how I feel. But you come back and I take you. But this you small thing. You want to divorce. You can't divorce.
You can't.
It's a no-go area.
This is quite interesting, and but let's look at this now. I've had a chance of talking to some people, and you see somebody who say, I thought I loved him. I thought, that thoughts, initially they saw something in the beginning. Now they are seeing things differently. So when you get to that point where it's like initially you saw a rose flower, now you slept, you wake up, and it has become maybe I don't know even what flower to say, but it is no longer a rose flower. Then you feel like, no, I don't want to carry this flower anymore. I want something more like a rose flower. When a gentleman or a lady has such a thought, a mindset, can the person ever be in a family life or in marriage at all?
You see, love is tested. And the test, we don't have control about the test.
That's right.
Sometimes the test will be a loss of job. The marriage started, both were working, then suddenly something happens, the man loses the job. So the cake, the chocolates, and then the special birthday presents that were coming when the man was working ceases to come. Will you still love the man?
That's right.
Did you love him, or you love the things that come? So love will be tested. And love that is not tested is not a matured love. So circumstance will test us. And we must be able to pass the test. Otherwise, for how long will you be changing flowers? Joshua went into a covenant with some people. He saw everything and he believed it. And we see people when we believe. We don't know what is in the person's heart. We go ahead. Then later things change. It happened with Joshua. The people deceived him. And for him, it meant that he has the right to break away from that covenant. God came in. God came in. He said, no, stay in. I can still do something. So when I realized that the person I thought was Gabriel was actually Satan, and then I have to entrust my life into God's hands. Can God work on him to turn me around? Even Paul said that if the person doesn't believe, he tells the one who believes to stay unless the person decides that I don't want you, go away. So that comes to what we said from the beginning, that we should not rush to make vows. We should, you see, for speaking from the Christian perspective, when we are courting, it's like the love is so strong, God even doesn't have to come in. We don't, God is see the one. God, what are the things I need to know? Both pleasant and unpleasant. Which are the unpleasant ones that God, you can still manage. I can still manage. You know, because, like I said, the person did not come from the same background with you. So there will be traits that will definitely show up. But those traits can be managed. Haven't you seen a woman that a man has discarded? Let me use that expression.
That's right.
Because she hasn't got what it takes for her to be a Mrs.
That's right.
And another man marries the woman and turns the woman around, and the first man begins to think,
that's right.
Did the woman have these things? We want everything to be cool for us. Some people are rough diamonds, and God wants to use you to turn them into polished diamonds.
Wow.
Who should do it for you to come and enjoy? Bible says that sometimes the place God will take you are what do you call it? Desolate places. But desolate places can be turned around. So we need to ask God to help us. Because every man, every woman carries a gem. But it takes somebody with the ability to dig, to look at the gem and turn it around. You know, the same man that a woman thinks she's too something and walks away from, another woman takes that man and that man becomes a genius, and the other woman begins to envy. I've seen it happen. A man after 30-something years is pleading for the woman to come back. But the woman is married with children. And he's telling people, he doesn't think he will get a woman like that again. So it takes patience and depending on God to manage. When we try to do it by ourselves, that's where we temper and we touch nerves that we should not be touched. But patience and God's grace. And I'll keep saying God's grace because it takes God's grace. It was by the grace of God that the parents are 45 years in marriage.
That's right.
You know, for some people, God is only a witness on the wedding day. After the wedding day, God is no more wanted. And we will have problems. Even Jesus himself, for his assignment, said, I can do nothing without God.
That's right.
You know, we you know, when I hear people say, believe in yourself, I have a little problem with that. Believe in yourself, and they take God out. I believe in God, and God will help you. Manage, because marriage is the greatest enterprise on earth. I can be successful in business, but if my home is in a mess, as far as God is concerned, I'm not a successful man. So if we all learn to see the home as our first, as a pastor, my home is my first church. As a businessman, my home is the first business.
That's right.
Why should I manage a very big, nice factory and I can't manage my wife and children?
That's right.
I'm not a manager. It begins from the home. And we must go back to the home and see the home as the first planet that God gave us. If homes can be managed the way Scripture describes it, we will not have the problems we are having. All the problems of the world starts from the home. That is why God speaks against division of the home. When a home divides, society is divided. So God will want us to keep the home together. When the home is kept together, society will be kept together.
And that is our core mandate, bringing the families together and reshaping society for tomorrow's generations. You are watching Weekend Family Review Show right here on GTV Live. Now, we still have our WhatsApp line up screen and our Facebook page, Weekend Review with Dollarich. Just get connected with us. Let's do the show together. Now, you said something. Let's come back to it. I want to turn it around. How much can somebody endure To which extent?
Everybody and his or her capabilities. If I said something and I'm going to say it again, it's a mind thing. If you cannot leave a job by your own because a boss is antagonizing you, you can also decide to stay in your marriage. Dr. Mate said, as for God's grace, Bible says a cord of 3 strands can never be broken. And with Jesus in your boat, you will smile at the storm. So if they say cord of 3 strands, every marriage, the foundation should be Christ.
That's right.
So you, your wife, and Jesus make it a cord of 3 strands. Ask him to give you the grace. Ask him to give you the patience to endure, because you have made up your mind you are going to make the marriage work. You entered, you went to the altar, made a vow. An altar is where divinity meets humanity, and you sacrifice your marriage on that altar, made that vow, you must take to it, and it has become a covenant. It has graduated into a lifelong covenant. If you have a child that is wayward, you don't throw that child away.
That's right.
You have a child that has become even a junkie. You believe that is, you still love them. Even if the child is in prison, you still love that child. So why would you want to give up on the marriage? Why would you want to do that? You saw something in it, and no condition is permanent.
That's right.
So once you saw something, Dr. Martin said something, you work at it. You saw a rough diamond, you must work at it to make it a smooth one. You cannot tell yourself, I will make it, and pray for grace, and pray. I tell people that I've been able to come this far in my marriage. I'm almost 20 years.
Wow.
And I said I've been able to come this far because I take every day as a new day. I forget about yesterday's problem and offenses. I forgive. I make sure I ask God to forgive me. If you say the Lord's Prayer, I said, and forgive us our sins as we forgive. So until you forgive, God cannot forgive you. And Bible says if you hide iniquity in your heart, God will not hear you. So that pain that you are keeping in your heart towards your husband, you can go to every prayer camp, pray whatever hours. It is only you are making noise. You are just losing energy. But if you forgive your spouse, you see that person in a new light. You see that person, the forgiveness will bring back that love, that patience that you have for the person. He said something, he said, people will tell you, I don't love him again. The love is no more there. It gets to a point in marriage, and you get to that point that you feel you don't love the person. I always say that let your spouse be your friend. If you are friends, you can talk, you can chat, you can gossip. Then that person is your friend. If the love dwindles, the friendship keeps the marriage going. And even if the person hurts you, you still think about the playing and everything, and come back and say, I still want my husband, I still want my wife. So it's how endowed you are with the grace of God and the Holy Spirit. Then you ask God to lead you to the next year, to the next. By the time you realize you are 50 years in marriage.
Wow.
You can do it. You tell yourself, you can do it.
I can do spare, right?
I can do it. And then you keep moving and get to where. But if you think that, okay, somebody told me I want to divorce my wife because I woke up at dawn and I saw her with a knife on me. I can't. It has happened 3-4 times. I am a pastor. I can't tell you to divorce. I can tell you to separate. But if after some time you still think you want to, it's your own.
You make up that choice.
You make up that decision on your own. Somebody will say, you don't know what I'm going through. You don't know, my husband is sleeping with every woman, and after that he keeps beating me. What do I do in that case? What would you want your children to have? A broken home rather than to endure? My mother used to tell me, I am in this marriage for you. Sometimes we put our happiness on hold to make sure the children have real, like Dr. Martin say, example So they grow in an environment that will be something they look up to in future. So it is up to you to say, I'm putting my happiness on hold. I'm sacrificing my happiness for my children and for this marriage. It's a choice you make. Bible says he has put before us, giving us life and death. We should choose one. But if I were you, I'll choose life.
That's right.
If I were you, I'll choose to be in my marriage, irrespective of what it is.
Dr. Martin, this issue with how much we can endure, let's look at it. She made a typical assertion to one area where if you have a husband who, like, it's a routine thing. I mean, morning, afternoon, evening, he wants to have a bite outside the marriage. I mean, except a lady doesn't pass in front of the area or the home or whatever, he wants to go there. I mean, if you a woman is out there in such a situation, and it is not once, it is not twice. We've discussed here those issues. I mean, but let's look at it. If you have such a husband, do you keep on keeping on trusting God? I think you just have to leave him there and let him enjoy himself.
You know, Jesus said one of the conditions that we give room for divorce is infidelity. But we combine scripture with scripture.
That's right.
So if the person commits that and comes back asking for forgiveness and restoration, and there is wisdom in the Bible for the person to be restored. One of the key issues, we know sex is not just fun. Sex involves transmission of anything at all, many things, and people forget it. Things are transmitted on the spiritual level and on the physical level. So if my husband moves from place to place, one of the concerns of the women, and we can't take it away from them, is she transferring some diseases to me? And we know the reality.
That's right.
So for me as a pastor, I will ask for a medical check.
That's right.
Because it's the same like when your life is physically threatened, where Reverend Gloria said he will recommend separation, which is right, whilst we try to resolve the issue. Because there are issues involved. There are women who have died out of AIDS because they are a man who was going around. In a case like this, I believe that the woman must want to demand some checks, because at least he must be alive to take care of the children. If the man will go around, he must be alive to take care of the children. So the issue of medical implications for that lifestyle, you know, cannot be swept under the carpet. The woman has a right to live.
That's right.
Especially when the woman is keeping herself pure and is not getting involved. And the man goes and comes back. The woman has the right to seek protection by all means possible, so that she will not be a victim of the man's waywardness. That is why in some churches, before the marriage is consummated, they ask for medical checks.
And all that.
You know, because there are some price we shouldn't pay for being faithful. You know, so for how long can a person endure? As long as the grace of God enables him to endure.
That's right.
For how long did Elizabeth and Zachariah endure a marriage of childlessness? As long as the grace of God took me to God perform a miracle. Some of the worst things we say, some can be illness. 2 years into the marriage, one of the people got sick, protracted illness. Sometimes the worst is a child is born severely disabled. It can really, really bring stress on marriage. And some couldn't stand it and they walk out of the marriage. The Bible says, those who endure to the end, they shall be saved. And there is reward for endurance. We're not saying this because we may not be in a situation. I have a cross I'm carrying.
That's right.
I can't run away from it. So that's why I keep repeating the grace of God. God grace. Grace also means strength to enable you go through a very difficult situation and come out victoriously. And I don't think God walks out at the end of the wedding. God remains. We don't engage him enough. And because God doesn't impose himself on us, he waits for us to invite him. I don't know who is listening that is things that have waited long enough. We will say together with Gloria that hold on, change is coming.
Change is coming.
And change is here.
God
Change is here.
will make a turnaround.
The program is Weekend Family Review, right here on GTV Live. And you know, we are discussing the for better, for worse. Now, when it comes to the worst aspect of it, for how much or how long can you endure? And we want to know whether it is a cliche. I mean, if I say I love you or for better, for worse, and to do whether it's a cliche, do we really mean them when we go on the altar and we utter all these words? And it's getting quite interesting. I'm coming to ask a question. If a man wants to walk away, or a woman wants to walk away from your life after 10 years of marriage, 20 years, 30 years, 7 years, 2 years of marriage, do you just sit and just allow the person to walk away, or you do something to keep the person?
First of all, you would ask why. What have you been doing wrong? Sometimes we put 100% blame on the other party without also taking part of the blame. And that is hypocrisy, because whatever somebody does, you had a part to play in it. You were not. It takes two to tango.
That's right.
You were not watching. You were sleeping. The Bible says one man slept.
That's right.
The enemy came to sow tares in your wheat. So maybe you slept, and an enemy came to sow tares in your wheat. So you ask why. Most of us believers, the reason why we have high rates of divorce is that we pretend.
Wow.
We act. In the Greek word, the understanding for the word acting is hypocrisy. So we are hypocrites. We believe we don't talk about.
We are really not who
we say we are.
That's
no,
right. That's
but
right.
you need to be real. Ask the person, what can I do something? What am I not doing right? Ask questions and then try to change and see if the person, or sit down. If you marry, it doesn't mean counseling stop. You still go to counseling, no matter who you are. You still go to counseling, and so you call the person before a counselor or your pastors. What have I done wrong? Can I change? Pray about it. Ask for forgiveness. But if the person still wants to go, there is nothing you can do apart from praying and asking. Do your part. Do everything in your power to let the person stay. But if you cannot, I was telling a lady came to me last Sunday. She's been married for 15 years, and then the man has found another woman, left the house, and is staying with the other.
It's very common in our system now.
And she has 4 children with the man, and the man left 3 years ago. And she's still holding on. She's been crying. And if you see her, she's changed totally. And I said, listen, you believe God, pray for him. But if you put your trust in God, you are trusting your husband more than God. That is why you are feeling the way you are feeling. But if God is your first husband, leave him and just pray for him.
That's right.
You have begged him. You have done everything in your humanly possible to get him. And he doesn't want to come. So still stay faithful. Pray for him, take care of the children, and leave the rest to God. There is nothing you can do in this case. You have to ask God to help you. Because what is it that you saw a woman, you loved a woman, have 4 children with her, you think she's no more
After
beautiful.
the 4 children,
After the 4 children, what at all? do you want? You go out there, have 3 children with another woman, leave her, go to another person, you know,
Shifting
and
cultivation.
shifting cultivation. And you might not come to an understanding of what you want. Our needs are insatiable, but it's not what we really want that God gives us. God gives us what we need. So if you're in the will of God, I don't see the reason why I should jump from one person to the other.
Dr. Martin.
Yes. Paul give a counsel, I mean, 1 Corinthians 7, where he talks about if the unbelieving husband departs, he said that let him go. In this case, you are not to be blamed.
You are free from.
Yes.
Yes.
You know, he said if the unbeliever departs, let him depart. A brother or a sister is not under bondage in such cases. And I agree with Reverend Lamte that find out what can we do. If the person still insists that he's going or she's going, let her go and ask God what next. I believe God will tell you what to do. If God speaks to you that he's preparing for another person, God will answer, not you. So that people are not kept. The man has gone. He's living for another person. That's right. You didn't force him. He walked out of you. Trust God for the next. Trust God to raise. I believe that's what Ruth did. Even though her case was death, that separated her from the husband. She trusted God. God raised another man. If you have been faithful, committed, and the man or the woman was away without any reason, you've made every effort for reconciliation, he's not interested. Trust God to show you the next territory, because you must live, and God is interested in your life. That is what I believe.
I believe you are so precious. I mean, to the extent that no man or no woman should, hold you to ransom. That's right.
You see, and what people forget is that God doesn't stand aloof. There is an example in the Bible. Judah's son, Er, married Tamar, died, and they gave Tamar to the next child, the next son. She was just taking the woman for granted. The Bible describes what she was doing, cheating the woman, abusing the woman sexually. The Bible said God killed him.
Instantly.
God killed him because what he did was wicked. I tell women or men who you have done everything before God, you are guiltless, and somebody is taking advantage of you. Let God take over. Let God take over.
It's a dangerous terrain. If you're not careful.
Let God take over.
God can kill you.
And especially women, we are precious in the sight of God.
Oh yeah.
I
like that aspect.
Oh yes, we are precious. I always say that we are God's last-born, and so every last-born has attention of God. And if a woman cries to God, that man, you are in trouble. So I advise men out there: don't take. If God wants to bless you, he gives you a good woman.
That's right.
If he wants to curse you, he gives you a bad woman.
This is serious.
So you men must take their wife. If you say that, listen, I always say that if a man could do everything, why would he need help?
That's right.
If you know you are 100%, you are total. You didn't need. God said, "Let me make a help meet." He saw that I've created man, but he's half. I need the other half. And so God in his own infinite wisdom knows that women are precious. We are multipliers. So he brings a woman and then you maltreat the woman. You are in trouble with God. So as a woman, stay back, pray, and ask God to take over the battle.
The program is getting quite interesting, and but this is how far time will permit us to be, and we'll consider getting the second part of it, and then I'll let you know. And viewers, help me say a big thank you to Reverend Mate for passing through the program, and then Mrs. Lamte for also coming around. Thank you so much. It's been awesome. We are so blessed, and viewers, I think we'll see you same time next week. But remember, if God is with you, no one can be against you. And that family that you are thinking is worse, you haven't heard somebody's story. If I were you, I'll rather take my time and work at my family. Because here we say we are bringing the families together and reshaping society for tomorrow's generations. Your husband might be bad, but somebody's is worse. Your wife might be terrible, but trust me, there is a Jezebel out there who is really destroying things. Hold on to your wife, hold on to your husband, work at it, trust God, it shall be well. I've seen it before, it is working for some people, it will work for you. See you same time next week. God richly bless you.
You are here, moving in our midst. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, touching every life. I worship you. I worship you. Wave your hands to him. You are here, turning lives around. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, changing every life. I worship you. Somebody lift up your hands and worship. I worship you. We say, hey, we make a miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Wave your hands to him, come on. We make a miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who